All right, so with all that being said, first of all, welcome to Something Wicked Film Festival. And the first thing I'd like you to tell everyone who will be watching this is who you are, what your film is, and what you did on your film.
Can we pause like really quickly before we do that? So I have 3 shorts that I've been submitting last year. Life's Work is the film that was accepted. Is that correct? Do you have that information right now?
No, it's Shaman's Call.
Shaman's Call. See, I knew. Thank God that I asked you that before I jumped right into that. Okay, good. Shaman's Call. So that's my most recent project. So that makes perfect sense. Okay, great.
I don't know if because I don't pick the movies you screen. I don't know if our judges actually realize you have more than one.
Well, no, I don't think I submitted more than one. So like in 2000, and I can talk about this. In 2021, I did 3 5-minute shorts.
Oh.
So I did like a stoner sci-fi, a sort of period piece film noir sci-fi, and then a comedy sci-fi, which is Shaman's Call. So I tried to kind of, instead of doing one longer thing, I tried to break it up and show people so that is why I'm in the situation I'm in now. And only because I didn't have time to like jump in, I didn't know. So I apologize about that. But
no, I'll restart it over. That's perfectly fine. Now we have the right film.
I know. I almost asked you that before you got started, but I was like, no, he's going to say what film it is. And you didn't. But now we know. Okay, great.
All right, so welcome to Something Wicked Film Festival this year. What I would like you to do first of all for our audience is tell us who you are, what film you did, and what did you do on your film.
My name is Jon Mancinetti. I'm a writer-director based out of Los Angeles, California, and my film is Shaman's Call. I guess maybe familiar to indie filmmakers. I wrote, directed, acted, produced, way too fucking much. But yes, here we are. And such a great experience. You know, I had been through this before with a few other projects. And with doing a couple other shorts in 2021, you know, I casted actors, got my crew, everything, which was great. This, because it was a location-based piece, like we were going to this epic location in Joshua Tree. I knew I couldn't bring that many people. So I kind of re-geared and thought, let me strip down my team into just the bare basics of what I need to make this happen. And I was looking at casting, I was looking at actors, and I thought, this film is based off a personal experience as well. So I thought, I need a tatted, mohawk, weird-looking dude. I couldn't find anybody. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean? And I love acting. I have a lot of experience acting. And so here we are.
All right. So without giving away too much, tell us a little bit about what the film is.
So like I said, it's loosely based off a few quarantine experiences I had escaping to Joshua Tree. If you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone's aware. A lot of people that live in Los Angeles escape to the desert to expand their mind and have that kind of cheesy experience that you hear too much about. And I'm that guy who is guilty of doing that a handful of many times. And there was one time in particular, I found this Airbnb in Joshua Tree that was 5 acres, and it was just epic. And I had gone with like a girl I was dating, and we broke up. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go back just by myself. Screw it. I'm going to have a great time. I went and I ended up just smoking, drinking, taking shrooms, like a little bit of debauchery. And I was by myself, and I woke up in the desert, like alone, thinking like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like 5 acres. Like, what if I would have got too fucked up and fallen in the fire, or something terrible could have happened? And that's where the film idea started. I came back and I started writing about this guy who's in the desert and he's trying to escape, you know, obviously based off my experience. And I thought, yeah, it's funny, but like it needs an edge. And so the idea of this dude who's like eating shrooms, drinking Jack, and potentially could really harm himself because he's just surrounded by nothing, was the basis of the story. But then I thought it needs more. And I myself am a huge Jim Morrison and Doors fan. Like since I was a kid, I think like part of the reason why I got into hallucinogens was I read this book about the Doors and Jim Morrison, and I thought literally I just had the epiphany. I was like, he gets so fucked up that he sees Jim Morrison appear to him in the fire. And it was kind of influenced by, if you've ever seen the original Ninja Turtles movie, Splinter comes to the turtles in the fire and he's like, my sons, everything will be okay. So it was kind of like that idea mixed with this comedic idea about this guy. But the cool thing about the film is it's not actually Jim Morrison who appears to him. I tried to make it like, so I have this super deep interest in sci-fi and kind of otherworldly concepts and the future of humanity and the human consciousness. And so if you actually watch the film, it's not actually Jim Morrison from the dead that appears. This guy, he's so fucked up that this kind of future society says, we need to make this message reach him. And the only way to do so is we're going to take the form of someone that we know he'll listen to, because he's obsessed with this guy, that died, whatever, how many years ago. And so Jim Morrison appears to give him this message about his life and hopefully turn his life around before he maybe makes a big mistake.
That's a good way of telling the gist of this film without actually revealing any of the details.
Yeah, I mean, and it's only 5 minutes, so it's like hard. It's like my explanation was like almost half of the film, but you'll see.
Yeah, well, that's the good thing. That's a perfect example of making a good short film, is that you have the setup and then you have to have that hook at the end to keep people invested with trying to remember your film, because unfortunately there's a lot of short films out there that are between 5 and 10 minutes long, and the only reason why we remember them is because they have that turn or that hook in the third act that reminded, damn, that was good. Jim Morrison does help. I will say that Jim Morrison does help.
And I'll just say one last thing. I set myself on fire, so I really did that.
Oh my God. I was actually wondering about that. I was like, I can see the spirit shaman, the CGI, but that fire doesn't look CGI.
My entire crew was like, dude, put the tank away. Like, I'm pouring it on my poncho, And they're like, no, that's enough, John. It's excessive. And I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm in charge here. You can't tell me no. And it was safe, but I'm a little bit like of a daredevil myself, and I'll do anything to get the shot, at the end of the day. And if it's my film, and that's another reason why I put myself in this role. Like, can you imagine like hiring some actor and be like, and we're gonna set you on fire in the end? Like, what? I'm not paying people enough to do that, So I put myself at risk, and it was a controlled environment. We had the air, we had the hose and everything ready to go in case. But yeah, I mean, kind of back to what you said about the length. I kind of learned a lesson. I'm from the mind of like, if you come up with an idea, that's the idea. Don't edit yourself. Don't change it just to fit norms. If you come up with a script and it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes long, I don't know, and it's supposed to be a short, then whatever, and like I've edited things, numerous times, and I'm like, this is the length that I want to do. And I learned that lesson though, with submitting to film festivals, it's like, if you have a really good short film, but it's 20, 30, 40 minutes long, like your chances get slimmer and slimmer, because how are they going to fit? Like, they've got a dozen films that are 5 minutes long, and then yours, which is taking up the rest of the block. So I purposely set out to do something that was quick, short, and to the point, and had a solid message behind it.
You make a very good point that some of the other filmmakers watching this won't realize, that the length of your film does dictate one of the major things that dictate whether or not you can get into a festival, because we only have so many slots to put films in. That you brought up. I don't like to tell people that too often, unless like you brought it up. 5-minute films, 10-minute films are easier to slot than 20, 30-minute short films.
And I think also too, coming from an aesthetic where a lot of these festivals, like, other filmmakers are the ones watching this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's other people doing what you do. So when it becomes too long, too preachy, to this or to that, people check out. So with a quick wham, bam, thank you, ma'am film, you're just destined to at least get some recognition and some views. You know what I'm saying?
So that brings up something very interesting, because you think like an economical filmmaker. Well, no, that's good. That's excellent because that just allows you to be able to make a feature-length film on a relatively economic budget. Is your background in film? Did you go to school, or is this something you just learned over time of shooting so many films?
Actually, I started as a kid making movies. Me and my brothers picked up our parents' camera, and oh my God, what an unprofessional asshole I am. My phone just started going up. It's my brother, so I'll just say that. And that, what a great segue. So I have two younger brothers. As the oldest, I kind of became the director. You know what I mean? Like I'd pick up the little VHS camera and I'd be like, you go there, you go here. And I like inherently was directing at like 12 to 15 years old. And then I went to college. I actually studied everything because I draw, paint, sculpt.
Okay.
And throughout kind of studying all the mediums, I got back to film because I was like, yes, I love to draw. Yes, I love to paint. But you know what? That comes into play with filmmaking. I think that's the best part about filmmaking is it's like, if you're kind of well-rounded as an artist, you can use all those skills. Like, you don't know how many times I've done sketches and storyboards and shared them with my team. Actually, Shaman's Call, I storyboarded every single shot of this film. You know, we had a PDF, you know, that we printed out and we shot this film on a checklist. Obviously we had a shot list, you know what I mean? But it was according to my storyboards that I made. And so I think what's cool is I went from this kind of like self-learned, like as a kid, to then I learned it in college, to then I applied all of them, you know, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So I did a few indie features there before moving here to LA. And you know, moving to LA is tough because you just got to figure out how life works here. You got to get your life straight. You got to pay your bills. And I did a really big project for myself. I rescue dogs. So it's something I don't get paid to do it. It's just a huge passion of mine. I did a film about rescuing dogs and it blew off. I mean, I ended up touring the country. I got to go to Australia. I teamed up with rescue organizations. I raised over $50,000 for rescue animals with all these, you know, 50 different cities, helped save all these dogs. So that was like my springboard project here in LA. And then that's when I was like, okay, now I've got it down. And speaking of which, that film was almost a half hour long. So it did really well for me in terms of like going around and showing it. But then entering festivals, I was like, And I actually trimmed that film down to get into festivals. And so that's how I kind of learned. You see what I'm saying? Like it was kind of like a self-taught, like, yes, I went to college, but I think ultimately, you know, I don't want to talk down on college because I love my experience, but ultimately, like, I think we live in a day and age where you can go on YouTube and learn anything you want. You know, you can watch a masterclass of the greats speaking directly to you. You can read books. You can self-educate yourself in today's day and age. So I'm kind of a little bit of both. And I'm a firm believer that as a filmmaker and an artist, like you can too, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would say that I was just talking to my buddy about this. It's like I'm self-made, but like I'm also really proud of, you know, all of the real sort of real world knowledge and the academic side of my background.
That's mostly probably because of all your artistic endeavors in college. You have that analytical brain, even when you're doing film, even though you didn't go to college specifically for film. Being an artist in multiple different medias, kind of you kind of gravitate towards that because I kind of did the same thing myself.
Nice.
I also, I'm like you. I don't know if I tell people to go to college because I went for critique and analysis, and I tell everybody when I write a book about film, that will be when my degree is worthwhile. Until then, I didn't go to school to be a filmmaker. So this will date me. I was still using 16 millimeter film in college. So
see, I was using the mini DV tapes. So I mean that dates me, but like that's
we were still shooting on 16 millimeter film, Bolex cameras and all that. So it's not like we were splicing the film. It's not like I had the editing bay to go, Avid and everything to go in there and just digitally edit. I was splicing film footage and stuff. So critique and analysis is where I gravitated towards. So it's interesting to see your story because you have all the tools available to you. You just internet, like you said, you can learn just about anything from the internet now.
This right here is film school. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, I want to say two things though. Number one, I see your degree paying off right here and now. You're doing a great job with interviewing me, so thank you. But number two, I think there's something to be said. You know, I did a little, you know, the question thing you can do on your stories on Instagram the other day. And someone asked me, they said, how do I get started as being a filmmaker? And I fucking hate that question. But because it's kind of obvious, like start making shit. You know what I'm saying? You have a phone, pick up your phone. But at the same time, I think there's something to be said for the people like us who started with the film because, you know, you worked with your hands and you cut this film so by the time you do get on the computer, you have kind of a deeper understanding than someone who's just kind of hitting buttons and whatever. And so I think there's also another side as a director, someone who's worked as a videographer, someone who's worked as someone's bitch on a set. I mean, I've pulled cables. I've done every single thing. I've done audio and lighting and just so many, you know, jobs that like weren't what I wanted to do. But once I kind of got to the point as a director, I was like, damn, now I know how to talk to all these people about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I have such an understanding, even as an artist, like it's like, I know color theory, I know composition, I know how to paint a painting. And so I know how to set up a shot, you know? And I think that would be my biggest advice to, you know, anybody watching this who's like, how do we, you know, get to that? It's like, just start making art. Because I think it gives you that eye ultimately once you pick up a camera and it just comes naturally a little bit more to you.
No, you hit the nail right on the head when you said just start making art.
Yeah.
Because anybody can pick up a camera and just point it at something. But when you have an artistic eye, that means you have something to say with your image, which is where, you know, I'm trying to get people to, because on average, I probably watch about 800 to 1,000 independent films a year. So when I whittle it down to the 76 that we screen, someone involved in that project has to have an eye for the art aspect.
When we hang up, I'm going to take a shot for you because, damn, that's a lot of indie films to watch. You know, and I think not to talk shit, but like anyone can do this too. So you also have that side of like, you know, yes, pick up your camera and make a movie, but no, like don't just like a TikTok isn't a movie. You know what I'm saying? And like that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of at this point where like a lot of my friends are like, bro, why aren't you on TikTok? Like you're like, I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm framing up shots. I'm spending a half hour on lighting something that's gonna happen like that in the film. But that is the stuff. I mean, that is why we go to see films. That is why we pay the money for the ticket to sit in the theater and watch whatever's, because they treated it like a craft. And I think like it wasn't until like I always had that respect for the medium, but it wasn't until quarantine where we were forced to just sit in our, you know, houses all day. I analyzed what the hell I was doing with my life. And I was like, look, clearly this is where I want to go. But there's two ways of going about anything in life. You know what I mean? You can just half-ass it and coast, or you can become a motherfucking master. And like, that's where I'm like, this is my goal. This is where I'm headed. I want people to know that this is like, I didn't just wake up one day and say like, gee, it would be fun to try this. Like I've been living this since I was like 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's literally a video of me with my dad. He just bought this new camera and he's like, Jonathan's going to be an artist one day, you know? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, little did I know that I'd be almost 40 and like, you know, depressed because, you know, but like, that's like what you sign up for, you know? And it's kind of the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of being an artist. And I think it's something to be said for people that, you know, follow their dreams and maybe you don't even know what it is right now, but with hard work and determination and passion and humility, like you'll come to that realization, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I want to know, since you've done so many hats on your own films and other films, what is the hat that you are most interested in doing? Are you like, I know you act, but you also want to write, produce, direct. What is the ones you feel like is the main one you want to do?
I would say writer director. I mean, they are like competing in my mind right now. Like, and there are a lot of writer directors out there, Quentin Tarantino, people like that. It's like I come up with ideas, I brainstorm, I write note cards, I write by hand in notebooks, I fill up notebooks with ideas. I then take that idea, I start writing scenes, I refine the scenes. Before you know it, I have a rough draft. I refine. 40 versions later, I've got something that I'm ready to show to people. I'm not done there though. You know what I mean? Like I've watched this movie in my head. I've crafted this thing that I then need to also be the guy that sees it. You know what I mean? I get that itch. Like I'm the crackhead, you know what I mean? Dave Chappelle, like I gotta be on set. Like I can't just physically sell a script because if I believe in an idea that much, I can't wait to jump on set and execute it. It's like I think ultimately directing is probably like my highest passion, but it's because I come up with these ideas. And again, it wasn't until quarantine where I really realized how to. I mean, let's be honest, writing is a lonely freaking profession. You sit at home and develop ideas. Yeah, you talk to people and share it with stuff, but ultimately it takes you sitting down at a tablet or a computer and writing. And so I absolutely love that, but I'm just not satisfied with that. You know what I mean? Like I would not be the person I am if I just wrote and came up with ideas. Like I've got to make them too. So yeah, that's kind of fuck acting, editing. I'm over all that. Like I really want to come up with ideas, write them, and then execute them. So writer director for sure.
Just acting your projects if there's a dangerous stunt that has to be done.
I'm the guy. Well, I think Quentin Tarantino again is a great example. It's like I think when he writes a script, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the worst character in this thing. Or you know what I mean? Like he purposely places himself in his films, and I think it's so clever. And I think that's where I'm at. It's like I am not Leonardo DiCaprio. I am not Brad Pitt. But if I can get those guys to play my characters, great. But like to be the guy that like gets punched in the face by them or like accidentally pees on them, or you know what I mean? Just like that. Yeah, I'll do that role. That would be great.
Uh, when you put it that way, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's very interesting, and Tarantino probably does that exactly the reason why you say too.
Yeah. He's like, no. Like the worst person in the script, that's me.
I want to talk to you about your genre because all three of the films that you were working on have sci-fi in it. Is that where you're gravitating towards in terms of genre?
So the first two big projects that I did after living in LA were just purely comedy. And I think I hope, as you can see, like I'm kind of a goof. So obviously like comedy is always going to be prevalent, almost even like you see Jordan Peele now, like yes, he might be writing mystery or horror or sci-fi even, but it's comedic, and I think I will always have that sort of comedic tone or undertone. But yeah, man, I grew up on Star Wars. You know what I mean? 2001: Space Odyssey is like my Bible. I am obsessed with The Matrix, Arrival. Like these films, they did something to me inside, and so. Like I don't like the last script that I was just working on. I would say it's basically Pineapple Express meets The Matrix, And so I'm kind of bringing together genres that like people hadn't thought about before, but I don't know, like something about it just screams me, Like I have this deep respect for and not just sci-fi that takes place in other worlds or space, but like simulation theories and ideas about the human mind and dreams. And I'm just very like abstract minded, I think. Like, if I go out on a date with someone, like I will just be yammering on about the universe and how everything's a joke. And you know what I mean? And so it's like I found my writing going back to that as I kind of progress and sort of age. It's like, yeah, I'm a funny guy and I want comedy to be in it, but like there's something more. I think sci-fi, and everybody will say this, sci-fi allows you to comment on things, that whatever, race, age, anything controversial.
Yeah.
but you can kind of like mask it under this like, oh, but it's like a weird universe, you know. I think 1984, that
Oh,
novel and the film is one of the best examples of it. It's like, dude, and he wrote that in I think the 40s. It's like, holy hell. So to me, like, I'm trying to be the next George Orwell, you know, or the Philip K. Dick, but like with a little bit of workaholics in there, you know, like some stoner jokes and things like that. Because I think deep-minded shit, everyone has that thought, you know, everyone has thought like, oh, what, but like not a lot of people act on it, you know. So I think to create a comedy undertone with a deeper message, you then remove the layer of preachiness. And I films should never be preachy, you know. Like, I don't go to a movie to like be told what to think or what to do. It's more of like a way of being like, hey, here's some weird ideas, and like, we made you laugh along the way, right? So there's got to be something to it. So yeah, I think that's definitely where I'm headed for sure, as a, you know, writer, definitely.
interesting. So, have you did you say you worked on a couple features when you first got out there, or before you got out there, or have you written anything in terms of features, or are you still working on only shorts?
Yeah, so I've just last year I wrote 3 features,
Oh,
which
wow. Okay.
starting to pitch. Yeah, and I'm working on a couple more. So that's what all this is. But yeah, I did a feature right after college. It was about this guy who does citizens arrests. And he has a reality show where he films himself arresting people for small crimes. It was very run and gun. It was shot in Columbus, Ohio. It was ridiculous. It was based off the first Ninja Turtles movie. I mean, we never had a script. Like, it was all based off improv. But I learned so much from that process. And I think that film was about 50, maybe 50, 60 minutes.
Oh,
After that, I was like, you know, I had worked with my best friend and my brother on that film. So after that, I thought, you know what, this is where I'm headed. I wrote a feature, very guerrilla style. I wrote, produced, shot, directed, edited, did the visual effects and the sound design. Like, I did it all myself. This was 2009. Such a major learning experience for me. Like, I grew. Uh,
oh,
no, you know, I think we were talking about sort of like the indie aspect and kind of like, the feature filmmaking.
filmmaking, yes.
Yeah, so I did a feature in 2009. It's called Never Escape. You know, and this was in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, I had so many people involved. When we did do the premiere, like 370 people came, you know. We sold out this indie theater. It was the greatest moment of my life at the time. And I got up on the mic at the end, you know, and thanked everybody for coming. That was the moment when I knew, like, this is what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where I'm headed, and it's only going to be up from here. And so I think, again, that's my biggest advice to people is, it's like, you I think you hear these stories about filmmakers who like got lucky, you know, they came up with ideas and whatever. But I think in today's day and age, like, it doesn't just happen like that. If it does, congrats to you. But the best way, I think, to kind of accelerate your career is to make stuff and to try and to keep at it and not give up. And I think if I had never had that initial experience of like self-producing, self-shooting, self-editing, doing freaking sound design, which is not what I want to do, I would have never been where I am today, you know. And I'm really grateful for that experience and that film. Yeah, it's super indie and guerrilla, but it got me to that realization of like how to transcend and become, you know, the professional filmmaker I am now.
Yeah. So saying all that, it just reminded me of another question I want to ask. So, from what I'm hearing, you did all of the CGI work in your movie.
Like blood squibs and, you know, muzzle flashes and things like that. Yeah, After Effects work, I would say.
After Effects work, because I was the Jim Morrison Shaman in the fire. Was that all CGI, or was that practical, or how'd you do that?
Yeah, that was all VFX, and hell no, did I not do that. I hired a professional, someone I've been working with for a long time, Rom 30 Effects, one of my buddies, Richard. He's phenomenal, and actually he's the type of artist to where I can send him some of my drawings, I can send him the raw footage, we can have a quick phone conversation, and he will send me it, and it's perfect. You know, like, we just click like that. And I think that's, I would say, one of the biggest realizations I've had as a filmmaker over the last maybe 5 years is like, stop doing everything yourself, you know, like just because it's low budget doesn't mean everything needs to be done by yourself. And had I tried to do it, it wouldn't look anywhere near as good as we had it now. But actually, the way we shot it, initially I was considering not even bringing. So that actor's name is Bill Dawes. He's a comedian. He's hilarious. I'd worked with him on another project called Superboys, and everyone loved him. So initially, when I came up with this idea of Jim Morrison appearing in the fire, I was like, Bill, he would be perfect for it. Put a wig on him with the glasses. I just knew he would kill it, because I also didn't want him to be Jim Morrison. Like, he's supposed to look like him, but he should have this bravado, like this comedic flair. And so we were gonna just take myself to the desert, shoot those shots, then film him on green screen and insert him. But I thought, you know, we started Zooming, him and I, because he was out of town, and we would do these reads. And like the comedy came out of like the way we would kind of banter back and forth. Like, I was supposed to be the kind of stone guy who's like, whoa, man, so like, are you telling me about the future? And he's like, no, will you just shut up and listen to me? Like, stop thinking about yourself. This is a deep message I'm trying to deliver. And we kind of were doing this back and forth, and we would end the Zoom session. I was like, bro, that was so funny. Like, there's no, like, you've got to be on set. Like, even if you've got to just be there to rant with me back and forth. So then we came up with the idea of like, let's shoot him. We will set him either right behind the fire or literally in the fire pit. And we shot the fire separately. And then we also put kind of like a blue sort of flame filter on him. And yeah, I think part of the reason why it came out so good is like practically he was really there. We were really interacting. Yeah. We just then added the VFX of him looking like he was on fire. And every shot you see of him, we shot double. So there was like a blank plate of the background. So we would set it up, lock the camera down, shoot a blank plate, bring him in, and shoot that. And then that way we can make him look translucent. And then I guess the last thing I'll say is like, we really ate a lot of shrooms during this. Like, this man was just chewing it like tobacco, like chewing tobacco. And I mean, as the director, like, I nibbled a little bit, you know, but I wasn't trying to be super faded. When we wrapped, we shot for 3 days. And when we wrapped, like, the first day was just location stuff and a little bit of the fire and me. Second day was mostly like the dialogue and all the bulk. The third was just whatever was missing. By that third day, like, we were all like, the second day we shot through the night. So when we wrapped, the sun came up, and I think every single person on my crew took shrooms and watched the sunrise. And man, Bill was just wandering around with this huge smile on his face. 5 acres, you know, and Josh and we were like, where'd Bill go? Suddenly he just like emerges like, it was great. I mean, you know, what's cool too is like, it was an opportunity because like the team that I hired, you know, I've hired them on a lot of different things. So we really bonded on this project. I mean, we slept together in a 2-bedroom Airbnb. We made food together. We lived and we shot this together. And I'm really grateful for the experience because it was my first like, I've done a lot of on location stuff for clients and commercial stuff, but it was my first on location of something that I wrote. And I couldn't be more proud of the whole experience. Like, I had such a good time putting this together.
So what was your biggest challenge with shooting this film then? Since it, you know, it's your first personal film on location or something else?
Well, I think even though I just said that, like, stop doing everything on your own, I still was stressed, you know, at the end of it, because I did have to do a lot on my own. I mean, I booked the Airbnb. I obviously pulled my crew together. I wrote and storyboarded the film. When it was all said and done, you know, I woke up in the morning, everybody had headed out. I still had to clean up the Airbnb and pack up all the trash. And like, there were multiple moments where I was like, bro, I can't do all this by myself. Like, I'm so sick of doing this by myself. But it's kind of one of those things where you just grin and bear it and you get through it, and it doesn't take up forever, you know. And by the time I got on the road and was driving back to LA, a huge grin on my face, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of filmmaking, you know. It's like, it's gonna suck sometimes. Like, I think like anyone, I've been on some projects where it was just a dream, you know, and like, you didn't have to go to location. You just went to a studio and like, it was easy and you had a little area and it was air conditioned. Like, I think those movies are great, you know, but if you're not challenging yourself, you know, are you really progressing? And so that was my biggest thing with this film was I had done the studio stuff. I had done apartment and house. I mean, everybody you ask a friend or you shoot in your house and you light it and whatever. This was different. I took a team of people to a dope spot that, we had never gone to. And I'm glad that I challenged myself, because now with doing pitch meetings and meeting producers like higher up and stuff like that, like I'm able to say, yeah, I can do that. I've done that. I know how to do that. I'm ready to do that, And so that is, again, like on the progression scale, it's like, yeah, pick up your camera and try. But like, as you start to get better at it, challenge yourself, do things that are outside of your comfort zone.
No, that's great advice. That's great advice for everyone who's going to be watching this, because I don't hear enough filmmakers say that. Don't just do what's easy, but challenge yourself so you can become a better filmmaker, a better storyteller.
I've watched endless interviews of directors and all the master classes and whatever. And like, I would say Goodfellas, like Martin Scorsese, that's one of my favorite films. And he was like, you don't know how many times I almost had a nervous breakdown on Goodfellas. He's like, yeah, it looks like a high budget film and everything, but we shot in New York in these tiny little apartments and I'm squeezing teams of people in there. He's like, it was awful. You don't see that watching the film. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you watch the film, it's like, wow, you did such a great job. It's like the stories behind it enrich it. It enriches the experience for the viewer and the person making it. So yeah, I do think blood, sweat, and tears is a very there's a reason why they say that, I mean, it's like if you and again, I know there's films out there that were probably made fairly simply and they were a success because it was great writing, but when you kind of tackle something grand, I think you achieve something grand, when everything fits into place, I think, as supposed to.
Well, I don't even know if I can. I was about to say, what's some good advice to leave people who are watching film, and you just gave some great advice right there.
Yeah, just hit rewind, dude. You know what I
mean? Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with in regards to either your film or filmmaking in general? Because essentially what we've been talking about is the art of making film. This is like anyone who's listening to us is going to learn a shit ton about making independent film.
I hope, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, it's like shit, like, why do we do this? Like, I think hopefully people can learn. I mean, and that's my thing, is I've learned from listening to other filmmakers as well. I don't think I'd be here if I didn't do that. So, who knows? Hopefully I influence some people. But yeah, I think for me personally, like you said, watch out for the features. I've focused specifically my craft now on feature making films, and basically the idea that, I know my path. I know where I'm headed. So I've got 3 features I wrote last year that I'm starting to pitch. I've got new ideas. So yeah, these shorts, I'm super proud of them, and I hope people connect with it. But if you're interested in my work and you like Shaman's Call, stay on the lookout. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm coming with that hot fire. Like I've got so many plans, man. And even like I was just talking to my manager the other day. It's like I have this idea for a film. It's called The Dream, and it's a coming of age story. It's very different than most coming of age stories because it's based on my life in the 90s as a white boy who was obsessed with rap music and smoking weed. And we don't really have that movie yet, and I think like that's kind of my niche. I'm trying to I think some of the best advice that I heard from Ron Howard on his masterclass was like, create cinema that is relatable, that is something that people can understand, but execute it in a new way and told in a different style. So that's my biggest thing. So I would say look out for that. I'm really hoping to bring some stories to the silver screen, to the big screen, that are something that people can relate to and enjoy, but different, told from a different way, and not the typical Hollywood bullshit either, So that's where I'm headed. And you can follow me on Instagram. I think that's my biggest social media. I'm always posting on there. It's my last name, Mancinetti Pics. And obviously there's a lot of dog stuff because I'm obsessed with my dog. But yeah, I appreciate everybody's support, and I really hope you connect with my film.
Nice. So I will be looking forward to your features and any of your other shorts. And if they fit our film festivals, make sure to send them to us because we would love to see what you come up with next. So it just for future reference, we love to kind of foster our filmmakers who continue to send us films. So please be on the lookout. If you have film that you want to submit to us, just email me. I'll give you a little waiver code. I don't care if people know that. I want people to know that.
I'm an alumni now, God damn it! All right, I better get a waiver code. All right,
we're not those. We're one of those people where he submitted the film to us once. We screened it. Let's just give him a waiver code for the rest of his life. Just have him sit his films. That's what we are. So
I will say, it's going to be some time until one of those features get made. So I have 12 more shorts that I wrote, which have been sitting on the back burner. And I just purchased the Ari Alexa. So my team and I is looking to possibly use that, maybe one more short as like a practice, before we tackle the feature. So possibly one more short is coming your way before we get the big feature started.
Nice. All right. Excellent. So it has been a pleasure talking to you, John. And thank you for joining us for Something Wicked Film Festival this year. And wish you nothing but luck for the future and hope to see those films soon.
Hey, thank you, man. It was a great time connecting with you. You seem like a really great guy, and keep up the good work with the fest.
All right. You have a good evening.
All right. You too.